Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm taking a look at the latest 3 factions for Neuroshima Hex. That is going to be Merchants Guild, that is going to be Desert Tribes, and Wiremen right here, of which I only have 2 of the 3 boxes. I don't have the Merchants Guild box anymore. These have come out one a year, and so it's been a while since I've reviewed these actually. They've grouped up on me. I now have 3 that I haven't talked about, so I figured I would group them all together and talk about all 3 right here. This video and overviews especially are just going to show you a little bit of what the factions do. I expect you to know how to play Neuroshima Hex already, and in fact probably be pretty well versed in Neuroshima Hex. This game, these 2, for example, the latest 2 are expansions 18 and 19. So I'm not going to be explaining the base game. Plus, I just did a review of the new core box, 20th Anniversary Edition. Check that out if you want to see what this game's all about. But if you're the initiated, let's jump into it. Let me show you these 3. Alright, so let's talk about the latest 3 factions for Neuroshima Hex. We are looking here at Desert Tribes, Merchants Guild, and the brand new one, Wiremen. We're going to go through those in the order of release, with the oldest one, Desert Tribes, being this one right here. So the main thing with the Desert Tribe, or Desert Tribes, I should say, is that every tile in here, once per turn, you're allowed to flip that tile face down, and it becomes a foundation tile. Foundation tile just changes what that space is, but is not filling it, meaning another piece can go on that spot. And when you do that, if it's your own piece under there, you want to make sure you mark it so you know this is a stacked piece with another one underneath. Now, at the beginning of any fight or any round of the fight, so every time you change speed or when you begin a fight, you check if there's any of these that are face down. And if so, you'll reveal them and then you can freely rotate them so that they are aiming at whatever you want them to be aiming at. And the tribe is going to change a little bit what it does based on that idea of foundation. So there's a few different things it does when dealing with foundations. That could be as simple as this tile here that gets stronger and faster when it's on top of a foundation, and you'll mark that it's, getting juiced up. You have some that if you choose to flip them face down right before you do that, they ambush. That's these red ones here. This one tosses out some bolas, which are these, and whatever it hits in the direction it shoots, it immobilizes that thing so it cannot move. It still attacks, but it cannot change directions or move in any way. There's those. We've also got ones that are going to attack. This one, when you would hide it in ambushes and it attacks in that direction and then it hides, and you could put something else on it. And your opponent could put something else on it too. Again, it's an open space. And then this one here, the bug, when you hide this one, you can actually slide it underneath of something else. Whereas normally you take this piece and hide it, you can, when it's the bug, you can take this piece and hide it underneath something else that isn't yet sitting on a foundation tile. And so you're going to be messing with what's visible, what's hidden. You'll reveal these, like I said, whenever they are in a wave of combat and they have nothing sitting on them, then you have to reveal them, okay? Besides that, you've got a bunch of units that have this thrower ability, something we've seen in the past, but we haven't seen it in a while. And the idea here is that if I have this thrower unit sitting right there, and they are attacking, then they attack actually on this vertice to this space here. Same thing this way. So it would actually hit this space, and this one hits this space, as opposed to the spaces around it based on the attacks it, denotes. Like this one over here would attack there, there, and there, but this one goes through the edge and attacks right there. It definitely can throw you for a little bit of a loop, so this one's visually really tricky, and it has that a little bit of a memory element, because if you've hidden something, you can peek at your own units, but you'll have to remember it's there and, figure out how that's going to work out. As far as the combat goes, when it's going to reveal, when you think the top one will die and reveal the bottom one, that sort of thing might mess with the cadence of the combat. But that's the big push here, the main idea for the Desert Tribes. They also have this token, by the way, that lets you do one of 2 things. Pull an adjacent enemy to a foundation tile, or if there is an enemy on a foundation tile, kill them. Great tile. You get a couple of those at least. So then we are going to be looking at, next up, the Merchants Guild. The Merchants Guild is pretty tricky stuff. They're going to play a lot with the idea that these merchants don't just work for free. You got to pay them if you want them to do things for you. So when you put out your HQ for the Merchants Guild, you're going to get 2 of these bullets, and this is currency, okay? Every time you add units to the board, you are likely to have to pay for them to have an ability that is going to take effect. And if you don't pay, then they don't play, and that ability gets turned off by you putting one of these tokens on it. So when I bring this out, unless I choose to pay the speed, which is 2, then I do not get this bomb ability, which I'll cover up like that. Now, the way you get more of these bullets is by discarding tokens. So if instead of placing this, I choose to discard it, then I'm going to get 2 bullets. I'll get that currency into my supply here. So there's a few of these characters that do different things. Like I said, this one over here blows up at the beginning of the combat instead and nukes these things instead of a normal combat if you choose to pay for it. This one over here is going to allow you to trade places with an adjacent unit if you choose to pay for it. If you don't, then it won't do that. There are some that you have to pay to attack. So like this unit, for example, which is amazing, has a purple symbol there. And you can put it out without paying on the battlefield, but when its turn comes up to fight, if you don't pay it 2 bullets, it does not fight. So you got to pay it to go to war for you. And don't forget, again, that you can discard any of these things to take that value of bullets. This one over here, which is a sniper, has a bullet symbol in the middle. You can snipe up to 3 things, hitting them anywhere on the board, your enemies, for 1 hit each, but you got to pay 1 bullet for each of those things. Very powerful, but you got to be able to pay that currency. And so that's the general idea there. There's also a few of these, not foundations, these are modular tiles. I forget what they call these. Let me see what they call these. Implants, that's what they're called. You have some of these implants that you can pay to move around again, or if you discard this, you get 2 bullets, actually. So there's that one. And there's a few different things. This one lets you rotate your units as long as this is out on the table. But the idea being you have to manage these bullets so that you are able to pay for the things you want to pay when they happen. Also, every time your HQ kills one character at the end of a combat, you'll get 1 bullet for that, for killing somebody, at least 1. So that's the idea. It has sort of an economic feel, which is a little funky. It kind of feels like Vegas a little bit, thematically, but it's all about spending, making and spending these tokens over here. And then lastly, we have Wiremen over here, which I would say is the easiest of these 3, though by no means is it easy. At the beginning of the game, when you put out your HQ, you are going to also put out these 3 tokens, these time tokens, on any of these spots that are on the edges of the battlefield. And by edges, I mean not the long sides, but these corners. So it can go there, the ones you see, it could go there, or it could go there, okay? At the end of every combat, these things are going to check if there's a tile with them. Some of these tiles are going to end up on that spot, like this. If there is a tile there, it is discarded. And if not, obviously it doesn't get discarded, and then they all rotate 1 click over. So this one goes there, and this one goes there. You have to remember to do that at the end of every combat, though. And so what this faction is all about is having tiles that can do something when you play them, like a push tile, but also tiles that modify the row they are pointing at for your guys. Like this over here has +1 strength in ranged combat, and any of your units sitting in this line get that bonus when you are fighting until this comes around and it discards it. There are a few that are even dual-sided, like these combat tiles. You can give +1 speed to anyone in that line of yours, or +1 range, and you can actually change your mind. It shows you a symbol that you can change your mind with this one every time it's your turn. You're going to have a few different units that also have this symbol here, which is a thing your HQ does when you put this on one of these tiles on the outside. So I'll do that. then all of the units that have that symbol get the special ability of this tile. So if I do this, now all of the units that have that symbol there, the little head, are going to have a move ability, or they have a push ability, that sort of thing. So that's the idea with these guys. They are going to be getting bonuses from these lines you're creating on the board, rotating these timers, discarding those things so they don't just stick around forever, and trying to soup up your units so that you're getting better, bigger bonuses. And you have to, of course, decide if you want to use this for the ability on the tile as a one-time thing, or if you want to leave it on the board and do something cool, like this one lets all the units attack again in the next priority phase. Very, very powerful. But you have to decide if you want to do that. So there you go. That is the 3 latest factions for the game. Let's go ahead and go back up top. All right, so those are the expansions, some of the tiles, some of the ideas you can expect to see in the game. I'm going to go through these from my least favorite to my most favorite, okay? So my least favorite of the 3 is going to be Desert Tribes, and it's actually one of my least favorite factions in a while. I wrote down my scores for the last few factions I've reviewed, which is, I tend to review these as they come out. And this is the lowest score I've given one of the last, including these 3, the last 7, okay? So, what do I not like about them? And I don't dislike them, okay? It's not that I hate this faction. I would not recommend it. It's just that this faction focuses on one of my least favorite aspects of Neuroshima Hex, and that is foundation tiles. I'm not the biggest fan of foundation tiles. For my money, I think they muddy up the board. It's hard to see the clarity of a space that is empty. Oh, wait, there's something there, but it is still empty. The foundation tile doesn't count as that spot filled. So while I'm playing the game with this faction, Desert Tribes, I often find myself thinking, oh, if I place something here, it'll trigger a fight. No, it won't. The board's not filled. It just looks filled. And then the idea that you cover them up. When the top one dies, if you're still in the combat, then you reveal the next one. What was under there? Oh, yeah, this guy. Well, that's useless right now. That didn't work out the way I was hoping. Yeah, just sort of, hyper-focuses on one aspect of Neuroshima Hex I just super don't enjoy. Now, that's not to say there's not some great fun moments in here. I love the tiles that let you grab a guy and pull him into your foundation or blow him up, or the idea of the guys who do a little something quick, like the one who attacks and then hides. Those are really cool moments. I just don't really like foundation tiles all that much, and an entire faction where every single tile is just about whatever the unit is or a foundation doesn't super speak to me. So this one's going to get a 6 out of 10. That's not horrible. I still enjoyed it. I still have a good time playing this faction. All right, it's just one I don't think I'll be reaching for across all 19 expansions and the core box factions. This is not one I'd be reaching for. Now, my next score one here would be Merchant's Guild. I think the Merchant's Guild is a really neat idea, in that you are making money and then spending that money. It sort of takes the idea of Vegas, that is also one of my least favorite factions, I'll say. Vegas faction, one of, a faction that came out many years ago, is one in which they're very weak, Vegas, but they can hijack other people's units, pay them, if you would, to bribe them away from that player, spin it to face whichever way you want, and now that guy works for you. It's a faction that comes with a lot of questions in a lot of other factions. How does this interact with Vegas? What can Vegas buy? How does, almost every single one of these things here has to explain, okay, how does these pieces interact with Vegas? And so I find it to be kind of just a draining faction a little bit. And Merchant's Guild, for my money, feels like a more interesting version of that. This idea that your people don't work for you for free. They are mercenaries. They do not just show up and fight and give their all. You gotta give them cash if you want them to give their all to you. Plus, it gives you a really interesting feel of when you draw your 3 tiles for the turn, you don't just discard the worst one outright. you might discard a different one because you want more cash because it has a higher number on there. It's faster, so you're getting more money to fuel other things. I really enjoy that. I think it's a very clever idea, really interesting stuff. I do wish that you have all these tokens that you use to cover up the tiles when you did not pay for the abilities. That makes the board look a little bit cluttered, a little bit messy. I wish there was a better way to do that. Or that the tokens were a little smaller, maybe. I don't know how I would tackle that. I just find it to be a little bit visually kind of messy. But the abilities included in the faction and what it does, plus its core idea and mechanism, I find engaging. This is a group of characters that I like telling stories with, so I enjoy them. They're going to get an 8 out of 10 from me. The Merchants Guild is good stuff. It's one I certainly recommend. And then lastly, Wiremen, which is actually the newest faction, is my favorite of the three. I really like this one because of the general simplicity of this is pretty good. I think it's easy, it's simple to figure out what they do. You have those neat tiles where you can use them for their ability or stick them on the outside, and they're going to affect the battleship in specific, ways. I find sometimes the factions that draw lines, imaginary lines on the board, get a little bit tricky to do well with. Like Iron Gang is a faction I like. And they have these chains that two guys can kind of shoot a chain at each other and mess up the guys in between them. But visually, that can be tricky to parse. This is a little cleaner. You just like, whoop, 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 divide the board. I kind of know what everything's pointing at, and I just have to remember that those guys are getting a boon. And then the only thing you have to be careful with, I found myself forgetting to rotate the things on the outside, the countdown clock that eliminates those special abilities. But I really enjoy this one. For being the 19th faction, it does something pretty clean, very clever way, and I love the thematics of this one. So cyborgs are one of my favorite aspects in Neuroshima Hex. I like it when the characters are mutants or cyborg, robot, funky kind of stuff. It tends to be some of my favorite looking and sort of most captivating factions. These guys fall right there in line with all of that. It reminds me a little bit, the last time I gave, the score for this, where I'm coming down on this one, is a 9. I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10. I think it's a wonderful faction. I definitely recommend, if you like Neuroshima Hex, check this one out. And the last time I gave a 9 was the other faction that really plays with the outside of the board, actually, which was the Pirates. I don't know if I would love playing these two together, I gotta tell you. I think that's gonna get visually kind of messy, but I love them both individually quite a bit, and the Pirates had a thing where they put tokens on the outside of the normal battlefield. So these are really good, really, really interesting stuff. All of these are pretty good. I personally have kind of a bias against the Desert Tribes, just because I don't love the foundation tiles, but all of them are cool. And I certainly would recommend, if any one of these speaks to you more than the others, then get the thing that speaks to you. That's what's going to make you relate to that faction. That's what's going to make you dive in and learn them inside and out so you can really do well. This game does best that way, when you devote time and energy to learning your guys the best and taking them into war. So there you go, folks. That's going to do it for me for these factions. There's a couple of winners in here. A seal of excellence for Wiremen and a seal of approval for Merchants Guild. But there you go. That's going to do it. Make sure you check out, like I said, Neuroshima Hex 20th Anniversary Edition if you don't know the game. I don't know why you're still here if you don't know the game. But hey, thanks for checking it out. And I'm going to see you on the next one. My name is Z Garcia. Take care, folks.
Thanks for watching another video here on the Dice Tower. We really appreciate you stopping by and checking our things out. Thanks so much for joining us today. And hey, if you really like what we're doing here at the Dice Tower, then there are different ways to support the Dice Tower. One of those ways is through Patreon. We have links in the description to this video, and we have links to lots of other things we do down there, so definitely check it out. But either way, we're glad you watched us. Tell your friends about the Dice Tower. Until next time, though, I'm Tom Vassell, and I hope you enjoyed this video.